Hello and welcome to the 16th episode of the Hiatus review thing. Today we will be doing Stephen and the Sword Fighter, which I was looking forward to do this, and I'm doing it so quick after Onion Trade simply because Onion Trade is not exactly the happiest I've ever been and I needed a palate cleanser. So with that being said, let's jump into a pretty solid episode overall. So for the first thing I enjoyed in Stephen and the Sword Fighter, it brought up poofing as a concept, which again shows how gems aren't human, but they're something beyond. Because when a human gets stabbed in the chest, we typically die. Not always, sometimes we'll live, but usually a huge sword through the chest and we're not doing too great. But obviously gems just proceed into their gem, heal up a little bit, and come back out totally fine. Gotta be jealous of, if I'm honest, whatever. Point is, they're not human. They're something beyond. Whether aliens, magic, whatever. Clearly, I know I've seen the whole show, but again, at this point, you wouldn't know. So it's kind of nice for them to sort of build up the idea that there's something beyond human. Now, for another thing I liked, and this is something that you can't appreciate in this episode. It takes until about Reformed to get. But basically, when Amethyst says, usually me, and Garnet replies with, it's always you, in regards to poofing, it's kind of funny because she was the actual last one to get poofed. Not counting Ruby and Sapphire, because that would be hard, and so Garnet getting, broken up counts as her getting poofed, essentially. It's just kind of interesting. It's not a huge part of this episode, but I kind of like it. It's kind of nice that they're sort of almost the opposite of hinting towards Amethyst being the last one to get poofed out of the three of them. I just sort of enjoyed that. And for another thing I like, and it's not something I normally bring up when I talk about this, because I always sort of assume that everyone understands this, so I don't feel I need to bring it up. But the music in this episode is very, very, very good. Both when Pearl's fighting her Hollow Pearl, I believe that song is called Dance of the Swords. I really like that one a lot. It's great, and the music that accompanies right after Pearl getting the sword through her chest, but before she poofs, is really ominous. And at that point, you don't know that poofing's a thing. You think Pearl might have actually just died. Now, of course, if you think about it, it doesn't make any sense to kill off a major character in the 15th or 16th episode of a show. But the music in this episode, I just want to throw it out there right now, is great. I don't normally talk about music because, like I said before, I assume everyone sort of gets that it's good, and it's kind of hard for me to talk about as somebody who doesn't make or really think about music that often. But the music of this episode is top-notch. Another moment I like is when Stephen is fighting Hollow Pearl at the end of the episode, and he notices that Hollow Pearl's given him the perfect opportunity to strike, and he declares so, because it shows that Stephen actually does listen to Pearl. Whether or not you and I think he does, because early on it seems like he always ignored her, but it turns out he does listen and respect her. He's just also a kid who doesn't really, think before he does anything, and honestly, like most kids, has issues focusing. But he does actually respect her as a fighter, because he's like, oh, she told me to wait for the perfect opportunity, and even though it looked like I wasn't listening, I actually was. The rest of the episode also deals a little more with Stephen and Pearl's, relationship just a little bit. How Stephen kind of relies on her a little more than maybe he should, with cleaning his room and whatnot. But that just shows that he actually does have a certain level of respect for her as an individual and as a fighter. I also like how Pearl really likes to clean and sort of take care of Stephen. It kind of hints towards the idea that she was a servant on Homeworld. Of course, not at this point, because we don't know Homeworld exists. We don't know other types of Pearl exist. Nothing. So it's just a really far foreshadowing, too far for anyone to actually notice it. I brought this up before, I believe, in Gem Glow, but it's a great way of hinting towards who she actually is. How she at one point was a servant to a diamond or a high-ranking official. I don't want to get into any theorizing of who she was owned by, because I don't know. Anyone. You could just throw out a name, because I have no idea. But I do like how they sort of hint towards that in this episode. Really nice writing. And for another thing that I really enjoyed in this episode, basically, to sort of tie it in with the last point, this shows how important Pearl actually is to the gems, especially Stephen. Because everything becomes a wreck when she leaves. And not only that, but if you look at the episode, it gets really dark after she's gone. There's the clouds in the sky constantly. It creates this feeling of like you can notice she's not there because of all of this stuff. And with the mess of Steven's room, it shows how important she actually is to the crystal gems, even if sometimes that's easily ignored. Obviously, Steven relies on her a little too much with that stuff, because come on, you're 13, you should be able to clean your room up a little bit, kid, come on. But, it's to show how important Pearl is, so I could easily give that a pass, and honestly, that doesn't actually matter at all. And that totally fits with who Steven is as a character. But yet, basically, this point was that this episode shows how important Pearl actually is to the crystal gems. And lastly, for one tiny note that doesn't really matter, for what I like Pearl's new design a lot better than her old one. Not that I dislike her old one, but her new one, I just like it more. I think I like the smaller bow. The bow always felt like kind of got in the way with her in her early design, but this one's a lot smaller and it maybe fit. I don't know. I'm not really huge into character design, so trying to explain why this one's better than the other one is not going to be easy for me to do. I just like the way it looks more, and that's pretty much all this point is. And with that being said, let's jump into what I don't like. And for what I don't like, and a phrase you're probably getting sick of hearing for this part, I almost feel like I should cut out the dislike for most episodes, because honestly, I don't really have much. This is a good episode. It's an episode I genuinely enjoyed. That's all. I'm going to leave it at that. Let's jump into the final verdict. And finally, the final verdict. Final verdict. I like this episode a lot. Definitely feels great saying that after Onion Trade. It's just a nice episode. It's just a nice episode showing how important Pearl is to the Crystal Gems and to Steven specifically, hinting towards who Pearl was on Homeworld. It's just nice. It's just a nice episode in general. It's cool to see Pearl fight Hollow Pearl, and then to watch Steven hang out with Hollow Pearl's kind of funny and kind of sad as well. I enjoy the episode. It's pretty good. It's not my favorite. It's probably in the top couple for the ones I've seen so far. I haven't really been putting them in an order. I may do that at some point. Who knows? That's pretty much it. I'll see you guys next time for Lion 2, the movie. And one final thing before I go. I hope you all guys have a great day. Stay safe. Yada yada.